Right, hello. How is everybody doing? How's life? How's the universe? How has your week been? How's things? I can only apologise for the A, massive amount of light. It's summer, and B, inevitably the noise that you're going to hear later, which is my air conditioning unit turning on because it is too damn hot in here. It is. Oh, I've restarted Home Assistant. It is 25 degrees in my office, and that is too damn hot. Hello, Ish. Adrol, that's the stream started then. Hello, how you doing? How's things? How has your week been? Yeah, it was 26 degrees in the office before I left the air conditioning unit on before the stream, but it has quickly rebounded, and I'm very sad about that. Yeah, how has everybody been? It's 29 degrees here, I'm melting. Yeah, it was 28 locally here. Outside, it's now down to 25 outside, which means that outside and inside are the same temperature, but 25 is too hot and I'm dying. But let me put the fan facing me. Apologies for any noise that may incur, but it's the only way I'm going to stay alive throughout this stream without putting the AC on. Life's good. It's lovely outside. Looking out from the inside in the shade. Nice. Good. How's Andy and Andy's week been? Well, Andy has a new toy. Yes, that is the make it move on its own without you in the car function. If I explain a little bit more, I think that should explain some more. Hello, Cecil Chan. Are you going to do any ICX builds in the future? So, first of all, I don't really do build guides much myself, because I don't enjoy doing them, and a lot of what I do is driven by I have to enjoy doing it, otherwise it doesn't come out very well, and I hate doing it. So I think I tend to prefer the more kind of, I don't know, intellectual, like data and explaining things, complicated things in hopefully simple ways. Whereas build guides, there are a lot of logistics, which means I have to talk to a lot of people and a lot of companies, and I don't really like doing that. And they're also very formulaic in the sense that you just build a PC and, that's fine. When there are plenty of other people who do it better than I ever will, and who will make better content for you. So I'm afraid the answer is probably no. Long story short. Hello, Zig, how you doing, man? How are you? Hello, Budget Bench. Hello, Simon. And hello, Harry. How you doing, man? Zig, do you recognise this? And why so many holds? Well, the bottom hold is to remote start the car. So when you're outside the car and the car is locked, you hold the button and that starts. So if it was an engine, it would start the engine, but obviously it's electric. Hold is to open the boot, so you hold it because it's motorized, and so you don't want to accidentally do it. And hold is to open the charge flap, which again, you don't want to accidentally do it. You have to hold these as well. So basically, anything beyond the lock and unlock are all hold buttons. Yeah. So that's what I've been doing for the last couple of days. I got it on Tuesday. So yeah. That's what I've been up to. I'm actually planning on doing 3 videos in total with it. One talking about a lot of the self-driving features, including like that, but also one of just about the tech in the car, because it is a relatively techy vehicle, and then obviously the normal car review on At the Wheel as well. So you'll have 2 tech videos on this channel, and then a normal car review on At the Wheel. It is the Ionic. I have one for a week. It's parked down the end, and it is... Right, Zig, you have one of these. Can you tell me, you know the active lane assistant, like not the keep you in the middle of the lane one that you can control on the steering wheel, the lane departure assistant? Is there a way to turn that off that persists after a key cycle? Apologies for the noise. Because I haven't found a way to do that, and it's tried to crash me into a ditch several times now. Hello, Joe, and hello, Commander Classified. How you doing, man? How's things? Hello, Mac. Because of Lords, I bet. Yeah, probably. Ba 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 ba. But yeah, I'm quite happy with my S4 for a great many reasons. One, because it has excellent practicality, compared to this, remarkably. 2, it has plenty of power, and 3, it doesn't have any nanny state issues. It very much has it's as close to analog as you can get in a modern car, and I really like that, because I have to say that my time in the Ionic 5, when I drive that, it infuriates me. When I drive mine, it makes me happy, and that's probably because it's me, but yeah. Hello, John. No worries. I enjoy your time off, indeed. I have mine coming at the end of the year. I'm getting an Ioniq 6. I changed my orders. I would get this 10 months earlier than the N30. Fair. So I drove the Ioniq 6 at the SMMT today, and that was great fun. It definitely feels like a bit of a nicer like, you know, seating arrangement. The Ioniq 5 is weirdly a very big car. It's wider than my S4 by a good margin. It's only like 20 or so centimeters shorter, despite having like a quarter of the boot space. And it's remarkably tall, like almost unsettlingly tall. It is nice, you know. I'm somewhat physically disabled, and so it is nice to not have to like stoop into the car or stoop out, you know, kind of wrench yourself out of it like I do with my S4. But it is a bit too tall for my liking personally. Whereas the Ioniq 6 is a much better sort of place to be in that regard. Although I'm pretty sure it does still have all of the same features and assistance and things. Commander Classified, I'm having to replace the entire wiring harness on a 1970 Mark 1 Mustang. Thankfully, you've got a ton of new parts to the car. It's only a 1 year only car, so parts are hard to find or expensive. Got ya, fair. Is there actually that much in the way of wiring harness? I mean, I know that like any modern car would pale in comparison, but would that even be things like electronic speedo? Or would that still be, you know, cable to the tranny, as you might call it? As far as I know, there's a that's the button left of the wheel that I don't use. You mean lane assist? Yes. Although I'm pretty sure that that I don't have a button there for that. Just checking the clips and pictures of. I might not have one of that area. I don't remember seeing a button for that. There is the like lane assistant in terms of sort of almost self-driving. The little steering wheel icon on the steering wheel on mine that's on the right hand side of the steering wheel. But that is you press it and then it keeps you in the lane. I'm talking about the one that's the 2 lines that way with the car in the middle, and if you stray too far into the left or the right hand side of your lane, it will start violently jerking the wheel in one direction or another. And that's not nice. I think in the info, because I can only find the way to disable that is in the infotainment system. And that setting, like if I turn it off, when you then key cycle it, you know, you press the start button, get out of the car, lock it, get back, unlock it, get back in, start it again. It has reset that setting, so you need to disable that every time you drive the car. And the reason that's a problem for me is that on British roads, we don't always have a line on the left-hand side of the road. So there's the lane, the dashed line in the middle of the road to denote the different lanes, but we don't always have another line on the left-hand side. And it seems to be very, very necessary to have a line on the left-hand side, or I guess in your case, right-hand side, for it to track okay. Otherwise, it will basically not detect that there is, a curb at the side of the road, that I'm driving relatively close to, especially because it's quite wide, and it will keep trying to veer me into the curb on the left-hand side because it thinks I'm too close to the center line. Yeah, that's annoying. There's quite a bit of wiring. Speedo uses a cable. Thing is, the plastic clips are 53 years old, so very brittle. Removing the harness is time-consuming. Can't afford to break anything. Right, fair. Yeah. I mean, even working on the 20 or so year old cars that we tend to work on, that is a pain in the ass, so I can't imagine what 53 years would do. Best of luck to you. So, as far as self-driving with the Ioniq, how confident are you with leaving it to take care of itself? My combo jerks the car violently to the middle of the lane, which is not pleasant. So, the Ioniq's self-driving stuff are a lot closer to, I think, what the industry average is, which is more driver assistance features rather than full self-driving. You do have the stop and go cruise control, which I did get working, so you set it to whatever speed you want, and it will keep, whatever distance you select. There's 4 you can pick from, following distances, and it will keep that distance. If the car in front accelerates, your car will accelerate. If your car, the car in front comes to a complete stop, it will come to a complete stop. So that's, great. Whether I fully trust that or not, I'm not sure. Also, for more city driving, that can be a big problem because that stop and go cruise control doesn't care about traffic lights or roundabouts or junctions or anything. It only cares about, is there a car in front, and are they moving, you know, at the speed that it's been set to, or lower, and therefore it modulates. That's all it does. So it's not really useful for city driving. It's more for motorway, and the same goes for the active steering, the sort of highway assistant or whatever it's called, where you can press the button on the steering wheel and then it will keep it pretty nicely in the center of the lane. I'm not gonna lie, it does a good job. When you combine those two features, you get what feels like self-driving, but it will disengage at any slight problem. It will not change lanes for you. It will, the second you put the indicator on, it will disengage the steering, and so, you know, that could be a problem as well. And also, it requires you to basically nudge the steering wheel every like 30 seconds to a minute. Which is a bit counterintuitive because you have to nudge the steering wheel while it's controlling the steering wheel. And so all of that's a bit of a weird thing. But basically, it's more for, oh, you need to adjust your, you know, media settings or change a route on your map. Cool. Press the button, you know, get the two things working. Quickly do your thing and then back to the road, and you've not crashed, you've not veered into another lane, you've not, you know, whatever. Rather than press the buttons, go on your phone, you know? You very much have to be attentive to what you're doing, and I think in these sorts of positions, having these sorts of, well, technically they do offer some form of self-driving, but you still have to be 100% attentive, but you now don't even have to do the things that would keep you attentive. It just seems a bit odd. But Andy, you're not in control of the car. The computer is. I say, get rid of all that crap and drive yourself. There's two things I want to say in response. I mean, the first is, you're half right. First of all, legally speaking, you are very much in control of the car. If it has a crash while those features are on, you're still the one that's at fault, and it will likely disengage all of the different settings so that there was actually, at the time of impact, nothing but you in control of the vehicle. So you should be aware of that. But second of all, you do still have full control of the car when that's happening. You can still steer the car to do, you know, around something. If you need to indicate, you just, like change lanes, you just indicate, make the lane change, and then it goes back to controlling the steering, but you still have full control. Like, you can still grab the wheel and, you know, do whatever you want. With the active cruise control, you can still plant your foot to go faster, to, you know, overtake somebody, or brake, and that also pauses the cruise control anyway, you know, as hard as you want. So you are still somewhat in control. It's just, it's doing some of the management, the minutiae management for you. And then on the second side of that, the whole get rid of it and drive it yourself, that's kind of what I was talking about with the setting, with the lane assistant. You can't. As far as I can tell, you can only disable that in the on-screen menu for that specific time that you start the car. The next time you get in the car, it will be fully enabled again, not gone to the warning mode, fully warning and assistant, as in jerking you into the ditch type of assistant. That's a bit of a problem. Hello Skymaster, how you doing, man? How's things? Oh, sorry, there's a couple of questions before that, actually. Kostek, looking for a gaming keyboard, want to buy a K70 Pro OPX, is it good? So I don't know what, you know, pricing of the K70 Pro OPX is. I haven't reviewed it myself. I assume OPX is referring to their optical switches, which I quite like, although they're not quite fully featured as what you call it, some of the other optical or analog switches, like from Wooting. But I'm sure it's decent enough. I don't know what the price tag is, so it's hard for me to give you a definite answer. It's likely a decent keyboard. There are definitely other keyboards that you might prefer, especially for the price. But yeah, it's probably not too bad if that's what you're going for. Simon, I'm disabled due to a back injury, so hire is easier, but the 6 looks so good. And between a car and an SUV, just to get a charger installed at home for it. Fair. Yeah, that's understandable. It definitely, for my back as well, it does help being in that higher vehicle, but I don't enjoy driving something that tall. And I think that the other key thing is that the fact that that is an electric vehicle and therefore basically all of the weight is on the floor, that definitely gives me an air of certainty and safety more than a standard, internal combustion engine SUV, because those things have the weights pretty high, whereas the Ioniq has it very low, and so it's a lot more stable than a standard SUV of the same size and weight, which is 2 tons. So yeah, I would say it does have a little bit more stability than regular, but it's still not that comfortable being that high for me personally. Ba 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 ba. Where am I at? Scamaster, hello. Good ATX case at or below 150. My general go-to recommendation is almost always Fantex, maybe Fractal Design. Fantex have a new P300 or P350 or 360 or something. P3 something A, which is their airflow designs. They're fantastic. It should be under £100. Great build experience, good airflow. And I think one of the options you can get that might be slightly more expensive, but comes with a bunch of fans pre-installed, so even better. Zig, yes, I think it translates as driver assistance several layers deep into the setup menu. I don't agree with not actually driving, so I'm vague, sorry. That's fair. I found that setting in the settings menu. That's how you can disable it, but for me, it every time I turn the car off and then back on again, it has reset that setting. It has gone back to full assist mode, which has almost crashed the car for me several times. And so I would really like a way for that to be turned off, and remember the setting, but it doesn't seem like that's an option. Mercedes is going to be the first manufacturer to have full self-driving in the US. If it gets in an accident, Mercedes will take the blame for it. Interesting. I mean, that's kind of cool. I honestly didn't think that Mercedes were that far ahead in terms of self-driving tech. Hello, Ab. How you doing? Just joined Talking Car Assist. My input as Tesla's autopilot is terrible and downright dangerous. I would agree with you. Because what I was talking about is, so I have an Ioniq 5 in for review. It's part of the Hyundai press fleet. This has a lot of driver assist features, including self sort of steering and stop and go cruise control. The cruise control I have less of a problem with, but the steering is the one thing that I have more of a problem with, because it is very much a quarter-baked solution. It keeps you in your lane very nicely. That's about it, and you have to keep your hand on the steering wheel the whole time, but you're also not the one doing the steering, which means that you're, just intrinsically you're not paying attention. You just will not pay attention because you're not doing the steering. You're just letting it do the steering, and your hand is there just to trick the system into letting it keep doing the steering. And especially once you then add in the cruise control, that for me is a bit of a problem, because it is so close to feeling like, when you're driving with those settings on, it feels so close to being self-driving that if you have those features and you use them, you're not going to pay attention as much as if you were actually even just doing the actual steering. And in my car's case, I do have cruise control, which I use quite religiously on long journeys, but it's not adaptive cruise control, which means I have to still pay attention for braking and, re-accelerating once someone's pulled out or whatever, and those, and obviously steering the car. And so I have to remain engaged while driving, even though I don't have to keep my foot perfectly on the accelerator. It just means that I keep my foot over the brake pedal, waiting for someone to pull out, or, for coming up to a junction or something, whatever, I don't know. And so that, then I can use the brakes. I obviously have to steer the whole way. Whereas with something like the Ioniq 5, if you use those settings, you are going to not pay attention as much. And that's a problem, because those settings, or those features, are not full self-driving. They will not, prevent an accident. And that feels bad. And I would argue that Tesla's even worse, because that's even closer to actual full self-driving, but again, it doesn't have those, it's not, level 4 or 5 or whatever it is, full self-driving. You have to still pay attention. But if you're using those features, you won't. Human nature. Have you seen China's BYD electric car graveyards? I haven't. You'll have to post them on the Discord or something. Yes, doing what it thinks is right and what it wants to do, not what you want it to do. That's my thoughts. Yes, I would agree with that. I have a Works Mondeo, and I turn off every assistance possible when I got it 3 years ago, except cruise control. Yeah. Mac, what do you consider a long drive, Andy? Alright, you American, where 1,000 miles is, breakfast mileage. Anything over, well, realistically, anything over about an hour, in terms of distance. So anything over about 60 miles is, I would not necessarily do that on a whim. Although the journeys I'm specifically thinking of are 130 miles each way. But yes. Oh yeah, yeah. I've watched that video, and I think an Ioniq 5 was used in that. It was a great video. But yeah, going between just 2 towns is 1,000 kilometers. Getting my first PC suit, nice. It's got good specs. Monitor is an AW2521HF. Is that good for input lag? Dell has never sent me anything. I once agreed to have a monitor with Dell. They said they shipped one, they didn't, and then they blamed me for not receiving it. And so they've never spoke to me again. But yeah, so I can't tell you for sure. I have a sneaking suspicion that model number correlates to the 240 Hz one, so it's probably pretty decent. It's probably in the 1 millisecond on display latency range, or under a frame. So yeah. Infinite Stars, hello. Any news on the OSRTC latency tool? Can't wait to get my hands on one of those. Yes, where's it gone? I've been doing a whole load. So the hardware, I'm pretty sure is locked now. I need to print the lenses that I want for this and all that sort of stuff. But the hardware is sorted. And so what I'm now doing is all of the software stuff. While the software is similar in the way that it works to the standard response time tool, the OSRTT, because there are so many more test modes with the latency tool, I'm having to do a lot more and a lot of new work, a lot of testing, a lot of validation to ensure that it's all working, it's all reliable, and then I can actually display the results in some way. Because when I first launched the response time tool, all I had was it just outputting data to Excel, which I suppose is what LDAT does, but I would like it to use my results view stuff that I already have for the response time tool. But again, I'm redoing a lot of that stuff to make it a little bit better, a little bit more reliable and easier to fix, debug, improve, update in the future. So all of that is adding time. But yeah, it's mostly software development plus testing and validation all at the same time. So it is still probably a little bit away, just to temper your expectations. But yeah, I'm working on it, getting there. I've actually I've completely redone the settings. In the video that I did, there was the new window, like the new software. Well, I've redone how you select all the different settings to a more modular and easier to understand and more sort of robust system. So that took some time as well. But yeah. EV range anxiety is genuinely a real thing in the UK, and we're tiny. It's amazing. It amazes me how EV is even something that exists in the USA. Well, so I think for the majority of people who have an EV, whether in the UK, USA, or anywhere else, especially right now, the majority of it is people who have that as their sort of, commuter car, their like city car. I'm sure that there are plenty of people who can make use of the what am I getting, about 200 to 250 miles of range out of the biggest battery but smaller motors, like single drive motor arrangement in the Ioniq. I'm sure that that is plenty of range. I could do what I consider a long journey in that, no problem. My only difficulty with that is that with my S4, so first of all, I can make it there and back in one tank if I really wanted to. I personally generally end up filling up once I've got there, because I drive around a bit, I commute to the next town over, which isn't 1,000 kilometers, it's 30 miles, and I kind of drive like an ass anyway. So, and then, as I'm leaving, I just fill up, and that is 5 minutes, and I'm full and away again. Whereas with an EV, there isn't a good place for me to charge to the place that I go, and so that's a pretty big problem for me. I could stop off on the way there, on the way back to top it up with a fast charger, a motorway services, for example, but it's not ideal, especially because a lot of the time I don't even stop when I'm driving there or back, so it would definitely add time if nothing else. Hello, Chris Beard. How you doing, man? How's things? Uh, I don't do a lot of journeys now. I'm not commuting. Those that I do now are typically over 300 miles. Yeah, I mean, I don't commute, obviously. I mean, my commute is... Actually, no, I genuinely don't commute because I sit here for, entertainment, and I sit here for work. So, um, my commute is clicking on Premiere or Chrome. But the journeys that I do in my car generally are longer ones as well. Jonathan, I'd love to know what's going to happen with all these batteries that are going to be piling up in years to come. Well, so the thing with batteries, like the EV batteries, is that first of all, they can generally be recycled relatively easily. And second of all, they can also just be reused. You can take an EV battery out of a car and move all of the cells into a grid scale storage energy where the energy output, which is one of the bigger things for an EV battery, and their overall size don't matter quite as much as just having as much capacity as possible. And so if you have 1,000 EVs worth of 70% capacity batteries, well, as long as you're just filling up a warehouse with them, you don't really care about that it's going to take up more space than some brand new cells, but you get them for super cheap, and then you get to offset demand from the grid. You can store solar or wind energy in them to then match peak demand later on. So you can reuse them in lots of different ways, as well as just straight up recycle them, rip them to pieces, extract all the metals and materials, and then make new batteries. um, EV range anxiety in the UK. Come to Australia. Yes, 1,000 kilometers between towns is real. Bring your own generator in the boot and a good supply of fuel. Yeah. Sticking a used 75 kilowatt hour battery in a granny souped up mobility scooter with an 8,000 mile range. I'd be pretty heavy, but I'd be funny to see. I go to Scunthorpe from Grimsby once a month from a daughter. $10 in diesel will get me there and back. Mate's E208 had 118 miles on the clock, but the time I got it back, it had 65. Not confidence inspiring. Yeah, well, so the thing is that EVs are much more efficient in city driving. Motorway driving is inherently less efficient with EVs. Technically speaking, motorway driving is also less efficient in internal combustion engine cars, but sort of not. You travel more miles for the same fuel, which is what miles per gallon is, but you're still using more energy to travel faster, which is what I'm trying to explain badly. But yes, it is actively detrimental to drive, motorway speeds on in an electric vehicle. That kills the range estimates pretty quickly. Especially because a lot of EVs are fucking SUVs, which is ridiculous. I remember them saying all this about plastic, and look where we are now with it. Yeah, I mean, plastic is perhaps a slightly different affair because there was a whole sort of industry created, or the existing plastic industry wanted to try and make it look like plastic was cleaner than it perhaps is, and so they made up a solution to that. Whereas it is my understanding that battery recycling and reuse is a more prominent action than plastic recycling, for example. I would say that I like to be proven wrong, but in this regard, I wouldn't. um, Although it wouldn't surprise me if I was proven wrong. Even if I don't want that to be the case, I want to believe that the world is not as bad as it really is. Let me gaslight myself, okay? Cars use over 50% of the energy just moving the air out of the way. Yeah. I mean, rolling resistance doesn't account for all that much. So, yeah. The EV SUV thing. Oh my god! Don't get me started. I know, right? It's infuriating. It's getting hot in here, and I might need to use my my air conditioning. It's relatively loud, which is my only concern. Although we are over halfway, so maybe I'll make it through. We'll see. Doing well. Crashing the conversation a bit, but having lived with a Nissan Leaf for 5 years as our sole family car, for us at least it's been a positive experience. On the odd occasion I need an internal combustion engine that I use a fraction of those savings for a short rental. Nice. That is a great come on, brain. Nope. That is a very good thing. I'm glad that you have a vehicle that works well for you, and especially I assume you can charge it at home, which is one of the big reasons why people have thingy. Nope, brain's gone again. God. What's it like watching someone have a mental breakdown for like an hour every week? Alright, how does this sound? Well, my noise gate is currently helping, so there you go. What was I saying? I assume you can charge it at home, which is a pretty good thing. One of the big reasons why people can have EVs at home. Technically, if I were to replace my S4 with an EV, I probably could charge it at home, although this is a rented house, so actually probably not. So yeah, I'm not quite in a position to do that. I'm also not in a position to afford one, so yeah. I'm surprised you have AC. I have two, actually. They're both portable units and they both suck. Portable units are terrible, but again, rented house, it's the only thing I can do. I did try and have what do you call it? I did try and have. I was considering building a bit of a DIY solution with car air conditioning stuff, but yeah. You have the vent going outside, yeah. Fuck off. No, actually, what's funny is that the original hose that it came with was horrendous, had a load of breaks in it, it was just terrible. So I bought an insulated hose, which works a lot better. It's a smaller diameter, which works for the vent size as well. I've sized it, I've cut it to the right size, and then I had to use a couple of reducer things and a load of duct tape because the mount itself, like the AC stock mount, was leaking a whole load of hot air, which is real bad because it's leaking the hot air that it's creating out of the back of it into the room that it's trying to cool. So now that I've sealed it all up properly, it works so much better than it did last year. I need to go do, we bought a new one, actually using the Ionic to pick it up, which is why I know the cargo space is terrible. And so I did the same setup, but it's leaking already from the back, so I need to go upstairs with some more duct tape. But the reason I have AC is because I don't know whether it's just because I'm Scottish or what, but I really 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 suffer in heat. It is not pleasant. I cease to function if it's too hot, especially in here. So the AC has been a very good investment for me in terms of my productivity. Kostek, I'm back. I can tell that in my country the K70 Pro PX is $147. The Huntsman V2 TKL has the same price. I haven't tested the Huntsman TKL V2. I don't think. I think I've tested the Huntsman V2, which is pretty decent. It's I think pretty similar to Corsair switches. So no, the new I think the new Huntsman V. Bear with. I can't remember. Come on, Razor. Load. I think that the new Razer key switches are the oh no. No, it's still the optical ones. Okay, then same shit. The yeah, optical switches. Oh God. Again, enjoy the breakdown. The Huntsman V2, I assume, is also the 8 kilohertz one. Yeah. So actually, that might be a better option. I think it comes with a wrist rest as well. Maybe. I might sway that way. Yeah. I mean, both of their softwares are piles of. Anyway, so yeah. You're gonna start talking AI like Jensen Wong in a minute. Oh God, no. Well, I did do a video on that. I read as soon as one of us turns on air conditioning at home, they start up all the coal power plants in the world ends. I'm running mine off solar. My solar energy, I've generated 6.5 kilowatt hours today, and I've only used 4.32 kilowatt hours of that, so I got some more to go. Charging at work is what should be standard. That's a good point. Although a lot of people don't work in conventional spaces, so maybe not, but it would definitely help fill the gap. And Joe says, my experience with the EVs has always been long distance driving, both of the Eva Varo and the E208. So the range is sapped up super fast, never really giving them a chance around town. Yeah, that is definitely their preferred space. Zig, back from the garage, is this when you have the cruise control on, the lane assist setting doesn't reset when the car's turned off? I know the drive mode does unless you set it before you move. Yeah, no, so like I said, I'm talking about not the like self-driving, the little green steering wheel, or the little steering wheel assist icon. I'm talking about the lane departure. I think it's called lane assistant in that car, and it's the two lines and the little car in the middle. That setting is only available to turn off in the infotainment system under settings, vehicle, lane assistant or lane safety, and then either assist, warning, or off. And if you set it to warning or off, when you then turn the car off and turn it back on again, in the same way that the drive modes reset, that setting goes back to full assist again, which is infuriating. EVs do okay if you go at 60-ish on the motorway. It's the speed that kills them. Can be surprisingly zen to drive a bit slower, says the reformed speeder. Nice. I know what you mean. Personally, I find it more stress-inducing, because if I'm the fastest car on the road, not saying that I always am, but you know, if I'm one of the faster cars on the road, I can sit purely, you know, in the outside lane, just constantly overtaking everybody, and then I don't really need to worry about people, you know, moving in, like anyone coming up behind me. Occasionally I do, people who want to do a lot faster, and I let them through, no problems. Whereas if I'm sitting in the like left lane at 60, I'm like constantly having to overtake trucks, manage people who are just sitting in the middle lane, people who are doing, you know, 62 instead, and then you're stuck in your blind spot for ages, and then you gotta, you know, either brake and let them come past and then move past again, or whatever. My brain doesn't work that well. So yeah. I tend to drive progressively on the motorway, always well under the speed limit, of course. Of course. Same. Oh, naturally. Don't worry, folks. Next week we'll deepfake Andy, as we have the technology to put GPT chat into it. Oh god. Might be pie in the sky, but what would be neat is if all roads were solar collector / battery / wireless car charger in one, and the car gets powered by the road. That would be nice. Realistically, trying to put solar panels on the road is not an effective use of time or money. See, I had a great idea, right? Which is that you just build a sort of solar tent roof over all the motorways, right? And that means that rain won't get on the motorways as much, which means they're a lot less dangerous. They're a lot less also susceptible to wear, because they're not heat cycling as bad. They're not whatever. And then they're also going to be collecting a shit ton of energy, which is great. You can also put wind turbines, like vertical wind turbines, on the like poles that hold up the roof, which can capture the wind energy created by especially the lorries. And again, that's a whole lot of energy you get for free. And so I feel like that's a realistic goal. It wouldn't cost, you know, a whole load of money. And yeah, roof with ice, not ideal. Well, so that's kind of the problem, yeah. But you could also just make it ventilated. Like, I'm not talking enclosed greenhouse, I'm talking, you know, decently high, whether it's a tent roof or whether it's a fixed structure, I don't know. But, you know, you could have some little bit of holes in it so less rain gets in, but it's still, you know, a little bit ventilated. And of course, if you're capturing that much energy, you can also just have extractor fans to, you know, pull air out of the sides. But you know, this doesn't have to be a final solution. I'm just proposing, right? Just asking questions. God, I hate that phrase. 79 or 70, they shouldn't pull you over. Yes, I mean, what was it? My dad got pulled over when he was driving his older Porsche, I think he was doing like 95 or something up in Scotland like 20 years ago, so, you know, whatever. And the police said if you keep it under 85, we wouldn't bother. So, yeah. God, WAP, shut up. No. Ba 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 ba. Did you do much research on your aircon replacement duct? Not specifically. I bought an insulated 100mm hose. It's still just an air hose, an air conditioning hose, whatever. But it's a bit insulated. It's not even like the full fiberglass one or anything. It's just double layered, and like reflective tape on the inside, like reflective material on the inside, and then black on the outside. And yeah, I cut it to basically as short as I can make it, so that it's basically as straight a line to the window as possible, and I used a couple of just straight reducers, and a load of duct tape to seal the thing, because it was not sealed by default. And a metal Jubilee clip, hose clamp. My aircon is different to yours. It's called crappy house ventilation with old ass windows. It's an air con. Ha 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 ha. Nice. Sounds very professional. Oh, don't kid yourself, it's not. California had a road test that could power the vehicle, and also had a self-driven car system where they would travel 5-car trains about a foot apart up to 80 miles an hour, but that was 15 plus years ago. I mean, nice. California does tend to, do some interesting tests and innovations like that. That does just sound like a train with extra steps, though. See, the thing is that as a car enthusiast, I want good public transport. One, because it's beneficial to me anyway, just as a person in society, but also because it means that less people who don't care about driving are on the roads, which means that the roads are more free for me to actually enjoy them. Win-win. So yeah, I would prefer better public transit. Scrap all the current EV tech, all the combustion engines, make all the cars work like giant Skeletrix cars, just don't drive too fast around corners. Well, I mean, that's called a train, or maybe a trolley bus. Yeah, or a tram, another name. A tram's just a train that is allowed to drive on the road a bit more. Or is allowed to be a bit closer to normal vehicles. Yeah, if you keep using logical reasoning, you come back to the idea of a train. Yeah, I mean, it's already been invented, and just it's called a train. Sorry, there's a lot of stuff in my my Seagate brand water bottle. And of course, my absolutely autistic way of cleaning it is to use some iFixit tweezers that are definitely covered in soda paste. Because who cares about hygiene? Not me, apparently. If anything says I'm not a role model to look up to, I'm not. Bring back trolley buses like we used to have in Doncaster. Yeah. Trains are pretty cool, especially steam ones. Choo choo, motherfucker. The Australian road trains. Well, they should just build more train lines, because that would be more efficient. Where's my hoverboard? I know I want one. I don't want those stupid two-wheeled standing and rolling, lean over, you look like an idiot. I want to hover, damn it. Not a new age electric scooter. But realistically, the thing with those, I think the thing with a lot of those sorts of tech type inventions, whether it's pod designs for cities, which seems to be a really common one, or hoverboards or whatever, when you actually stop and think about it, the reason that we use rubber tires isn't because we just don't have the technology to hover. We do. It's just way less energy efficient to do that. To just hover off of the ground about the same height as if you were riding, you know, a bicycle or a normal scooter or a stupid hoverboard. You know, like, it just takes less energy to move around when you're actually touching the ground. And, you know, with those sorts of pod systems, whatever, it's just more efficient if you put more people in the pod, and then maybe, I don't know, you could call it a bus? Or a tram? Or a train? So yeah. Trouble is when you want to turn or stop. Well, that's why a comprehensive system is made up of multiple steps, right? Like, you know, you take a train between cities, but you take a tram between suburbs, and you take a bus between streets, or something like that. And you're a genius. I know. Sometimes my genius even surprises me. 10 points if you know what that's from. I don't want to hear excuses, Andy. I want my hoverboard. Hey man, if we can work it out where there is some more, like it's more energy efficient to hover, I'm down. I want one. Oh. Have we talked about anything tech this week? I don't think we have, unless you count cars as tech. I mean, I do. I'm making videos about them, so why not? Has anything techie happened this week? I have this tablet in for review. It's an Asus tablet-y thing. It's Windows, which means it's awful, but it's an OLED. It's an OLED. Screen on. I command thee. Screen on. See, I did some drawings. I mean, what's more impressive is that this is $600 for the pounds for the stylus, the tablet, the type cover that's kind of awful, and the weird but like this kickstand is not attached. It's magnetized. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. But yeah, the latency on the pen. Glad you asked. Yes, it's about 100-ish milliseconds, which is pretty bad. But it's cheap, so you can't complain. £600 for a stylus. It comes with a free tablet. Yeah, I mean, like, if you want to compare to what you call it, an iPad Pro, that you can buy 3 of those for the price of an iPad Pro with the touch cover and the stylus, or the Apple Pen. So yeah. Magnets. Well, yes, but you know, you can't really fly. Good GPU for an i5 10 600KF, $4,500. I guess that's 4070 range. I don't think AMD has. They don't have a 4070 competitor yet, do they? So I guess a 4070. Get a GPU with more than 8 gig of VRAM. It's a bit difficult. It's 6800 XT. That's pretty decent performance and should be about that price. Please, for the love of the textures. Nice. On tonight's show, air conditioning and public transport. Hey, and self-driving bullshit. Right. Well, I'm absolutely dying alive of heat, so I'm gonna disappear now. I'm gonna go, I don't know, lie in an ice bath or something, I don't know. But yeah, I hope you guys had a good week. Oh god, I'm delirious. I'm gonna go now. I will see you all next week for a stream at Thursday night at 8 p.m. UK time. There'll be videos tomorrow and Monday before then. Have a good week. Good night.